Under the golden glow of Ibadan's sunset, a young man strolled confidently into the University of Ibadan's main campus. Heads turned as he passed, drawn by the magnetic air that seemed to surround him. His name was Nnamdi Ozoemena, a name whispered with intrigue and admiration even before he had spoken his first word in class. The Casanova, they called him, though the legend was only just beginning. From the moment he stepped onto campus, his charm made him legendary. With a dazzling smile and a voice that could sway even the sternest hearts, Nnamdi earned the nickname the Casanova within his first semester. His reputation for wooing women became widespread, and soon, it was not just a name, it was an aura. Nnamdi didn't walk alone. His crew, Kola, the brilliant strategist, Tunde, the brooding silent killer, and Oses, the prankster, were his loyal companions. Together, they treated romance like a military operation, meticulously planning their flirtations and ensuring no heart went unconquered. They sought after women they deemed perfect specimens, assigning them nicknames like V-boot for curvaceous figures with big backside, big headlight for prominent front. It wasn't about love, it was about control, about conquest. By their final year, Nnamdi and his crew had earned a campus-wide reputation. Many women were left heartbroken, and some even began warning freshers about the Casanova crew. But the warnings didn't stop them. They simply moved on to new, unsuspecting victims, always seeking the next thrill. It was during orientation week that Nnamdi first noticed Adiz. Petite, graceful, and somehow above the noisy crowd, she piqued his curiosity. Fresh meat, he whispered to Kola, his voice tinged with admiration. Perfect specs. Kola grinned, sensing Nnamdi's growing fascination. Let's see the Casanova in action. But winning Adiz over proved to be a challenge. Nnamdi approached her with his usual charm, the clever compliments and practiced lines that always worked. But Adiz wasn't so easily impressed. She met his advances with quick retorts and piercing questions that left him flustered. To his surprise, he found himself amused. This was a battle he had not expected. Their interactions turned into a back and forth of wits, each conversation leaving him eager for the next. For weeks, Nnamdi found himself obsessing over her, not just how to win her over, but how to truly impress her. Adiz was different. She was sharp, perceptive, and somehow immune to his usual tricks. But as always, the thrill of the chase was enough. Once she let her guard down, Nnamdi moved on, leaving Adiz heartbroken. After graduation, Nnamdi was posted to Calabar for his National Youth Service Corps, NYSC. Known for its vibrant culture and stunning women, the city became his new hunting ground. His charm worked effortlessly here too, earning him a fresh reputation among fellow Corps members. Yet, despite his success, Nnamdi began to feel an emptiness gnawing at him. The charm, the conquests, they were fleeting thrills, and he couldn't shake the growing sense of dissatisfaction. One fateful day, while wandering an upscale neighborhood, Nnamdi stumbled upon a beautifully designed school. Its elegant architecture and serene surroundings felt almost out of place. Drawn in by its quiet allure, Nnamdi approached, hoping to ask for directions. Instead, he met Ekaette, the school's owner. Tall, elegant, and commanding, Ekaette stunned him into silence. There was something about her, something far beyond her beauty. Their conversation started innocently, but it soon grew personal. Ekaette wasn't just another conquest. She was a woman of substance, and for the first time, Nnamdi found himself genuinely intrigued. Within months, Nnamdi and Ekaette had fallen deeply in love. They married in a lavish ceremony, and Ekaette entrusted him with managing her school. For the first time in his life, Nnamdi seemed to have found stability. But his old habits, his flirtatious ways, refused to stay buried. He charmed female teachers, and soon, even students preparing for external exams weren't safe from his attention. Rumors spread, but Ekaette, blinded by love, dismissed them, believing in the strength of their marriage. Then Amosu entered his life. Amosu was a student preparing for her WAEC exams. The moment she walked into the school, there was an almost imperceptible shift in the air. Whispers followed her. Stories of her uncanny ability to predict events and her habit of speaking in cryptic riddles swirled around her. Nnamdi, ever skeptical of the supernatural, brushed it off. She was beautiful, yes, but the rumors didn't concern him. What did, however, was the way she seemed to know things about him, his secrets, his fears. There was something unnerving about Amosu. Her aloofness intrigued him, and her sharp wit kept him on his toes. Yet, it was the way she seemed to read him, see him, that both repelled and attracted him. When he finally confessed his desire for her, She simply smiled, a chilling smile that sent a shiver down his spine. "If you have your way with me," she warned, "you will lose something you can never recover." Nnamdi, ever the skeptic, laughed. Superstitions won't stop me. But something felt different about this chase. Weeks later, after relentless pursuit, Nnamdi thought he had won. She'd agreed. Out of nowhere, Amosu had yielded, meeting him at his most vulnerable. And yet, instead of feeling a sense of triumph, he was struck with an eerie sense of foreboding. But his desire overpowered his hesitation. He thought he could control this, too, just like all the others. Amosu's eyes narrowed as Nnamdi approached. "You cannot hold power over me as you have with others," she whispered, her voice tinged with finality. "I warned you, Nnamdi. If you take from me, you will lose something greater than you ever imagined." Her warning echoed in his mind, but Nnamdi, driven by arrogance and desire, pressed forward. And then, just as he thought he had won, she vanished into the air, her presence dissolving like smoke. In that instant, Nnamdi's world unraveled. A searing pain shot through him. He looked down and screamed. His manhood was gone. His initial panic gave way to disbelief. He was numb, horrified by what had just happened. He sought out pastors, herbalists, and spiritualists, but nothing could restore him. He was lost, trapped in a nightmare of his own making. His marriage began to suffer as Ekaette grew increasingly confused by his distant behavior, sensing the cracks in their once perfect relationship. In his darkest moment, clutching a bottle of poison in his trembling hands, Nnamdi muttered hopelessly, "I could never guess I would end up like this. Everything was going fine, too fine. But I just couldn't keep my thing in my pants." He forced a bitter, painful smirk, raising the bottle to his lips, ready to end it all. But then, as if on cue, the lights flickered. Shadows stretched unnaturally around him. The air grew heavy, and his skin tingled with an unnatural cold. He felt it before he saw her, Amosu. She stood before him, radiating a supernatural glow. She regarded him calmly. "Are you ready to end it all, Nnamdi? To surrender to the darkness?" "I'll do anything," he pleaded, tears streaming down his face. "Just give me back what I lost." Amosu's voice softened, but her words were still stern. "I can restore it, but only if you promise never to cheat on your wife again. If you break this promise, the affliction will return, and I won't be here to save you." Desperate, Nnamdi swore, his voice cracking with emotion. "I swear." True to her word, Amosu restored him, and the pain that had consumed him faded. But the ordeal had left an indelible mark on his soul. Nnamdi spent days grappling with shame and self-reflection, haunted by vivid memories of his suffering. Each morning, he stood before the mirror, seeing not just his restored self, but a man transformed, one who had learned the painful lessons of his past. Redemption was not easy, but it had begun. Slowly, Nnamdi began to change. He sought out wisdom, reading books on relationships, consulting with elders, and becoming more attentive to Ekaette. The bond between him and Ekaette deepened. They became partners in every sense of the word. Nnamdi was no longer the man he once was, and for the first time, he understood what true commitment meant. But questions lingered. Who was Amosu? Why had she spared him? The mystery remained, but Nnamdi had learned that sometimes life doesn't offer answers, just lessons. And as he sat in his office, gazing at a family photo, he whispered to himself, "I was saved, not by chance, but by a force greater than me. And every day, I'm reminded of the man I was, and the man I never want to be again."